Oh, sure. Everybody remembers O'Neill, Carter, and Teal'c, and that other fella who was there for a while and disappeared. What's his name? Oh yeah, Jonas Quinn. With that in mind, I'm Sean Ferrick for What Culture, and here are 10 Stargate characters who vanished without a trace. Number 10. Hermiod. Hermiod was the Asgard advisor assigned to the Daedalus, primarily to simply oversee the Asgard upgrades that had been added to the ships. Though his appearances were infrequent, he became an essential member of the team, often stepping in to save the day when most other options had failed. He was strict and a little colder than other Asgard that the SGC had encountered, lacking the relative warmth of Thor and Freyr. However, he did agree to help in battles, such as the Battle of Atlantis, even if he disapproved of his technology being used for war. On several occasions, he used Asgard beaming technology to send nuclear devices to Wraith hive ships, though this was against the Asgard code. For this list, it can almost be assumed what happened to him, as he is infected with the same illness that was killing the rest of his race. However, he was in the Pegasus galaxy when the Asgard decided to destroy themselves and their world, so it is certain he didn't die with them. Having said that, in the show, his last appearance comes in McKay and Mrs. Miller, though he is mentioned by name in Tau of Rodney. It's never actually explicitly stated what became of him. Number 9. Colonel William Ronson. Colonel William Ronson was the first commander of the Prometheus, Earth's first hyperspace battleship. He quickly got under the skin of Jack O'Neill during the ship's shakedown cruise, though both officers came to understand each other quickly. The very nature of the show has SG-1 effectively saving humanity again and again, while Ronson's continued readiness drills for his crew were designed to ensure against precisely that, having to rely on SG-1 to save their hides the whole time. O'Neill understood that, though they butted heads again once the Prometheus had to eject its core and land on the planet Tigrea. Their arrival caused issues for the local population, with Ronson remaining steadfastly against helping them, lest they compromise the ship. O'Neill was able to talk him around. On a later mission, Ronson is vanished along with the rest of the crew while studying in Nebula at the behest of Samantha Carter. Though he is returned soon after, this would be the last time that he was seen. While he was presumably just reassigned, there is something to be said about the man who lost control of the ship on several occasions and didn't get along with Jack O'Neill. Number 8. Nicholas Ballard. While Nicholas Ballard wasn't a big character in terms of the Stargate series, he was important insofar as he was actually a blood relative of one of the main characters. As Daniel Jackson's grandfather, his experience with an earlier giant alien was finally given credence, despite no one in the academic community believing it. Were it not for his family ties, in fact, it's very possible Ballard would still be sitting in a padded cell. However, his actual fate may not have been much better. His only appearance in Stargate came in the episode Crystal Skull, wherein Daniel is rendered invisible by the eponymous artifact when it is discovered on an alien world. Ballard is contacted due to his supposed connection to these aliens. Daniel is able to communicate with him and him alone, so he sees his grandfather manipulating the situation to ensure he can travel through the Stargate. Once through, he aids in the retrieval of Daniel, but his true intentions were to simply interact with and study the giant aliens that do indeed exist. He's then left behind on this planet with no mention of him ever again. He may not have been an integral part of the team, but it does seem a bit cold to leave an old man on an alien world and never check up on him. Number 7. Haikon. Haikon was originally a leader in the Sodan, a group of Revel Jaffa warriors who rose up against their system lord over 5,000 years prior to their discovery by SG-1. Teal'c was well aware of them, though had never met a member. They existed by surviving on Goa'uld symbionts stolen from Jaffa who still remained loyal to their gods, though this caused their numbers to dwindle over the years. Haikon came to believe that the real gods were never the Goa'uld, rather they were the ancients who existed millennia before them. Thus, he led the Sodan into converting to Origin. While this could have been a devastating blow, Mitchell and Teal'c were able to convince him that the Ori were no better than the Goa'uld he had served beforehand. He agreed to help SG-1 defend Earth against an Ori plague. In retaliation, the Ori caused one of the Sodan, Volnek, to go mad and apparently die, only to be resurrected. This undead warrior then slaughtered a village, leaving only Haikon alive, though his symbiont was killed. SG-1 saved him, providing him with Tritonin, and after this he was never heard from again, despite being a valuable asset to SG-1 and the Free Jaffa, so it is unknown what became of him. Number 6. Ishta. Ishta had once been a high priestess under the Goa'uld system lord, Lord Moloch. During her tenure, she was forced to oversee sacrificial ceremonies of all young female Jaffa, as Moloch dictated that only male Jaffa could serve in his armies, making them stronger in his belief. She quickly found that she was unable to continue being a part of this, leading a group of fellow female Jaffa and saving many of the girls on her worlds. She developed this following into a rebel faction, the Haktil Resistance. At first, their methods were also brutal, They would attack and kill Jaffa warriors, then steal their symbionts for the girls they protected. They did this believing there was no other option, not knowing of the drug trotonin, which served as a substitute for a primta. Her activities brought her into contact with Teal'c, and the pair quickly bonded. She began to come around to trotonin, helping to break the cycle of dependence. Later, when Moloch discovered the hacked Teal, she was brutally tortured by him in his first prime. She was rescued by Teal'c in SG-1, and at this parting, she and Teal'c agreed that they would meet each other again, though it was the last time she was seen or heard from in the show. Number 5. Major Michael Griff. Michael Griff was one of the members of SG-2, though he commanded SG-1 on one occasion while still a captain. In that case, he was assigned to help the unit recover Daniel Jackson, who had been taken captive by an UNAS. This occurs on the planet P3X-888, which Jackson believes to be the original homeworld of the Goa'uld. His theory is given weight when the waters surrounding the teams turn out to be absolutely full of symbionts, some of whom attack the team, possessing 2 of them. Captain Griff is shot in the chest with a staff weapon by Dr. Ronald Rothman, who had been taken by a symbiont. Thankfully, the captain survives and is brought back to the SGC. There, he's promoted to Major. He has worked closely enough with Colonel O'Neill to discover that Administrator Calder of P3R118 is attempting to trick the team into a wild goose chase, though SG-1 returns before any major incident can take place. He is then later assigned to protect a group of scientists on M4C-862, a task that frustrates the soldier immensely. When he and the rest of SG-2 are relieved by SG-1, he practically skips his way back to the Stargate, only to apparently disappear into the event horizon, never to be mentioned again. Number 4. Sarah Gardner. Sarah Gardner was an old colleague and flame of Daniel Jackson's, who most unfortunately ran afoul of the Goa'uld system lord Osiris. She was quickly taken as a host, proceeding to become a major thorn in SG-1's side over the following years. Although Osiris himself was male, he was unafraid to use his female host to further his goals. He quickly established himself as an underling for the returning system lord Anubis, a Goa'uld so evil that even the rest of the system lords expelled him millennia ago. Protected by Anubis, Osiris enjoyed a position of unique power among the others, not quite being the face of the enemy, yet still in control of almost every situation. The downfall of Osiris came when he overplayed his hand, attempting to use Daniel Jackson's subconscious memories to Ascension to help him translate a tablet that would lead Anubis to the lost city of the ancients. SG-1 caught on and captured him, with the Tok'ra finally extracting the symbiont and freeing Sarah from its grasp. Despite the veritable wealth of knowledge she would surely have retained, Sarah is never seen again after this, despite her prior relationship with Jackson. Number 3. Major ERIN GANT. Major ERIN GANT fared slightly better than Colonel William RONSON. She was also present during the Prometheus' shakedown cruise, during which she was responsible for ensuring the crew were ready for the various tests and simulations that the Colonel was to put them through. She also worked closely with Samantha Carter in studying the Naquadah generator that was powering the hyperdrive. She was one of the crew members who also vanished along with RONSON when the Prometheus encountered an alien vessel that was trapped in a pocket of unstable space gas. Carter was able to negotiate for her return along with the rest of the crew, offering these aliens a chance to escape along with the Prometheus itself. She served as the pilot of the Prometheus under General Hammond during the Battle of Antarctica, which would be her final appearance on the show. After this, she would not be seen again either on the Prometheus or at another posting, making her another of the soldiers who simply got rotated out of the show every so often. Number 2. Ryak. Ryak was Teal'c's son, played by actor Neil Dennis. He appeared early on in the show, forcing his father to return home to Chulak to deal with the repercussions of revolting against the Goa'uld. There, Ryak and his mother, Dreoak, were living as social outcasts. As the family of a traitor, no one would speak to them. Worse, Ryak badly needed a symbiont to survive, though he received no help from the priests. Teal'c gave his son his own primta, saving him. Between then and Ryak's final appearance, he and his father had a tumultuous relationship. He blamed Teal'c entirely for his mother's death, even after witnessing the efforts that his father had gone through in saving the Jaffa people. His own life was saved several more times, including after he had been brainwashed by Apophis to kill himself and everyone in the Stargate compound. Despite all of this, he managed to find happiness. In one of the many engagements between the Free Jaffa and the Goa'uld, the System Lord Moloch was killed. Ryak met and fell in love with Kareen, a female Jaffa warrior. They married despite Teal'c's initial objections. From this 8th series episode, Ryak vanishes from the show altogether with no more appearances, despite another 2 seasons of SG-1 featuring his father. Number 1. Louis Ferretti. Louis Ferretti is one of the few members of the original team that stepped through the Stargate to survive, returning to the SGC along with Kowalski and O'Neill, leaving Jackson behind on Abydos. Of this group, He's the only member of the team to have never died on screen, though he has had a few brushes along the way. So that begs the question, where the heck did he disappear to? Following the death of Kowalski, he was given command of SG-2. Later that year, he was ordered by General Hammond to seek and retrieve SG-1 and return them for court-martial. They had illegally travelled through the Stargate, believing themselves to be the only ones capable of stopping Apophis and Chlorel's invasion of Earth. Though Ferretti suited up with the rest of the team, he was unable to go anywhere, as the gate wouldn't connect. SG-1 had travelled, unbeknownst to them or anyone else, to a ship that contained a gate, rather than a stationary world. The ship took off into hyperspace, meaning there was no longer anything at the address. This was the last time that Ferretti was seen in Stargate, despite a couple of name drops along the way. Perhaps it was his willingness to capture SG-1, or simply O'Neill's insistence on being the only face left from the soldiers who travelled to Abydos. Whatever the actual reason, poor Major Ferretti ended up on the cutting room floor. That's everything for our list today, guys. Who do you reckon disappeared without getting a proper send-off? Drop it into the comments below. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and remember that you can catch us over on Twitter at WhatCulture, and you can catch myself at Sean Ferrick as well. Remember guys, Cree, Jaffa, Cree. Thanks a million.